Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, back on F1 2020 as always. And for this video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Not online, not a league race. Because we've got the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, I thought why not go against the 110 AI, which I've done a few times now. And we're going to go as Alexander Albon this time in the Red Bull, because I think he's been having a little bit of a hard time. So we're going to try and do him some justice, because I think he is a very, very good driver. Just needs a bit more confidence. We've got a lot of confidence right now in this game, and we're just going to test ourselves against this very impressive AI, because they are incredibly quick. Even on the 0% AI, they were not that slow as well. So Spain should be interesting. Just did a race around here last night, in fact, which I won't spoil, but it was very, very good. I'm going to be using the same setup, so I'm not going to be running defaults because, frankly, default is just too slow. It is just so understeery, and it blows up your tyres as well. So we're going to be doing a 25% race. I'll be showing you most of this race because I think it's very useful and important for people who particularly want to learn to improve. And the way this race went, I think it's going to be incredibly insightful. So I hope you enjoy it. So rocking this up, 4 lights, 5 lights, trying to get a good start. And we get a very, very good start. I don't think the AI particularly have great starts. We almost made contact with our teammates, already rubbing wheels going down into turn 1. You can see the warning of my teammate. And we've been from 3rd to 2nd, so 1 position gained. And this is absolutely perfect. Although I don't think it's quite realistic a Ferrari being on pole, because I'm not even sure if they've even changed the settings for like the actual cars, not the equal cars, but the actual 2020 cars. Evidently not, because there should be probably Hamilton up there, not 2 Red Bulls and a Ferrari. But nonetheless, we are Alexander Albon. I know a lot of people said to me in the past that, oh, we always play as Hamilton or Verstappen or something. No, we're Albon, so we've got the OP people all around me. So this is just balls to the wall now. And like I said, we're just going to be showing pretty much most of this race, because I think it's particularly useful for people. And throughout this, I'll just be talking about what I'm feeling, how I attack this track. Because this track, up until recently, especially in this game, I've always found this track very, very, very difficult to hook up. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get in the rhythm, particularly through that last sector. It's very stop-start, and there's not really too many references around this track for braking points and turning in points and stuff as well. So you really have to try and rely on some feeling, and to get that built into you, A, you need to be doing a lot of practice, and B, you need to have a setup that works very, very well. The setup that I'm using here today is my time trial setup, where I think I use 4 8-wings, but I've actually put it down to 3 8-wings. And it's kind of strange, because in TT you think you'd want to be... Well, that makes sense actually. That's just me talking rubbish, but yeah, sometimes the wings just change by 1 or 2 clicks on the rear and the front. But on this game, I found that pretty much the TT setup with a lower front wing is working particularly well, and no, it is working very, very well for me. Go around here. You can see I'm using lean throughout the corners as well. And again, a lot of comments I get is, why do you have so much fuel at the end of a race, or ERS and stuff? Now, I mainly put it in lean, not really to fuel save, but just for better traction, and it doesn't generate as enough wheel spin, and which really helps your tyre temperatures on the rears, and it helps your tyre wear as well. So that's particularly important, because around this track or around other tracks, it's very, very touch and go in terms of the one stop. Between the soft, if you wanted to start on the soft and the medium, it's very, very close. And we've seen in this game that the tyres are quite susceptible to getting a puncture. Like on the softs it's like 60%, on the mediums it's like 70%, and the hards it's like 80%, where you could be a very good chance of you getting a puncture. So I run the fuel mix and lean. A lot of people ask me that, not really so much for fuel saving purposes. It's mainly just for better traction, better tyre wear. And no, it does help with engine temps a little bit as well, because if you're running in rich all the time, it's really, after a while, I don't think it's that important in this game, but on previous games, and it probably is still to a degree in this game, if you run in mix or high rich or rich for ages, if you'll say, it will start to overheat your engine, which will give you a slight loss of performance in terms of overall power. So that's something to keep in mind. But I always rather have some fuel in reserve, because I don't find it particularly, unless it's at tracks like Singapore and stuff, like if you're going a lap less in the fuel load at the start of the race, might gain maybe a tenth a lap, and my tyre temps might be a little bit better, but apart from that, that's pretty much it. And you can see here now, we're in the DRS zone of Vettel, but he is just so fast in a straight line, and this AI are just very quick coming off the corners. And see, our tyre wear is not too bad at this stage here. No real threat from behind, which is good. We've got Verstappen. Bottas is kind of being a roadblock for Hamilton, and I think the guys in 6th place are quite a substantial way behind. But you can see we are driving very well. I'm just trying to get as close as I can to him, and locking up a little bit into here, because the cam of the corner makes it very easy to lock up. Don't worry too much about lockups, which although I hope they change for future games as we get a little bit dirty and go out wide there. Yeah, don't worry about lockups too much, because they don't really affect your tyre wear too much really at all. It's more about the wheel spin, like coming off this corner here. I stay in a 2nd gear. I'm very gentle on the power, because I don't want the rears to overspin, because that really will hurt the tyre wear quite a bit. So I'm actually kind of managing it a little bit in a way. So yeah, just that's something definitely to keep in mind. Coming off this corner here, very tricky chicane, although it's much flatter than before, and I definitely prefer this version of the chicane compared to last game, which I absolutely hated. You can hit this curb here on the inside, but you can see it pushes you on just a little bit. It gives you a little bit of understeer, so it's probably best to completely miss it. But it's much harder to get the line right, but I think overall it is the faster time. But we go into the pits now. It's going to be a pit stop competition between the Red Bull boys and the Ferrari, putting on the medium tyres and coming out. We have just got ahead of Sebastian Vettel, so GG to the boys in blue, or dark blue if you want to call that. So that is some good track position, because it was looking increasingly difficult to get past. So he pits relatively early. These mediums are quite easily go to the end of this race, but we have got a little bit of traffic ahead of us, but there is about a 1.5 second gap. So I was hoping I wasn't going to catch these guys too quickly, because I think Hamilton and my teammate Verstappen have stayed out here, and a little bit of understeer in the medium tyres. It's always very hard when you go from making a pit stop, going on to a completely different compound. You really have to kind of adjust your driving style, and that's something I struggled with yesterday when I did the social race around here. I went from soft to hard, and the initial grip of the hard was absolutely nowhere. So it took me a good 5-10 laps to really get used to it. So that's something, when you're practicing for a league race, I really recommend doing a full race distance, or at least practice on the compounds that you're going to be using, because it can give you such a big advantage as we make a little bit of contact with Lance Stroll. So I'm going to check for damage, but I don't think it's going to be close enough or hard enough for damage. But yeah, when you're practicing for a league race, I think it's very important to not go into a race in a complete unknown. Otherwise, you're not going to be very high on confidence. So a couple of people picked. We're right behind the racing point, and you can see Hamilton is coming out. He's on the hard tyre, so nice Mercedes strategy. That was a Ferrari strategy that they just pulled off here. The racing point is very quick in a straight line, and my teammate Verstappen is still out on the soft tyres, and no, this is really not helping us, because we're definitely going to be losing time, because Stroll is on the soft tyre as well, so we have to get past him as soon as we can. Go down the inside of Verstappen and making a very big lock up on the left front tyre here, which is very difficult not to do. So we've got a car between myself and Vettel, which is good, but you can see Verstappen has pulled away because of this, and his AI is incredibly quick, and having a couple of that fresher tyres as well, we need to get ahead of him, because otherwise this could be a very difficult race. But I'm not sure how the AI actually adopt their ERS. I think it's pretty similar to last game where they pretty much have a full bar of ERS and they use it at certain points in the lap, and it's a lot easier for them. I think that put it that way. They always seem to be very, very rapid coming off the corners, but I do notice towards the end of the race they tend to slow down ever so slightly. But we set the quickest lap of the race despite getting past Stroll, but my teammate is going to get out ahead of me, so this is a crucial part in the race, and this is not what I needed. So now I'm gonna have to stay with him, and I've seen it before. You can see that washing away of the understeer. We're already detecting that dirty air. Luckily we're out of the DRS zone of Sebastian Vettel, so hopefully a Red Bull 1-2, hopefully Verstappen can actually drag me away from Vettel, because Hamilton's not going to be a threat because he's on the silly hard tyres here, and you can already see, the acceleration that Verstappen actually has. And this is where the AI are very, very powerful. They're not human. They don't take time to warm up or anything at all. They are just completely straight on it here. So it is crucial that I stay in this DRS zone. Electing to stay in second gear here through that left-hander. Only time I'm going first is if I just going very, very deep and I just need to provide that little extra rotation. But you can see over here, we're driving very, very well at this stage here. But Verstappen, just the raw power he has coming off here, made a little bit of a bad chicane go through here. I think we're just about steering this DRS zone, but you can see by an ERS, the ERS gets depleted very, very quickly. And you can see by a delta, we're not catching particularly quick. I think we've only gained about half a tenth going down that main straight. So they are I think he's very much deploying the fuel use of his ERS, and you can just see the speed, the apex speed that he's able to carry. He's just got so much power right now. The only good thing is that we are pulling away from Vettel, so our pace is extremely good, but we have to keep with him. So I'm absolutely fighting as hard as I can, doing this corner absolutely perfect. If you can do that without no lockup, then give yourself a pat on the back. But we're using the rich mix, so I just need to stay with him, because if I let him get away, it's going to be very, very hard as we get a warning as we are trying to do this at the same time. Going completely flat out for this right-hander, almost getting another warning, and he is out of the second DRS zone. He's out of the detection point, and though this is not good. This is really not good. If I want to win this race, or if Alexander Albon wants to win this race, then he needs to stay with him here. He can't let this gap get any bigger. So I'm driving as fast as I can, but again, you can see, no, it doesn't destroy your car through there, but I don't think it's a good thing really running over those curves, and he does a 16.5, 6 or 7 tenths quicker than me on that lap. So if you're faced with the AI at this point here, what you have to do is that you just have to stay in it completely. And from now to the end of the race, I'm literally driving qualifying laps, and you can see the ERS is quite low. But the one thing I have noticed as well is that when your ERS is low, on last game, if it was below 20%, you'd be losing a lot of power. Whereas in this game, I've noticed that you don't really lose too much at all. So you can be very, very, very aggressive with your ERS use. So even if you're on very low power, as long as you know you can save it quite easily, then you can quite happily run down the main straight with less than 10%, and you won't be losing that much power compared to, if you had 50% or something like that, whilst you're not using the overtake button here. So yeah, right now I'm still pushing very, very hard, trying not to get a penalty or anything at all. And you can see by my lines. Well, next up I'll talk about how I actually approach this track here, and we really start to turn up. So that's a much better chicane. So let's ride through a lap of exactly what I'm thinking when going around here. So using a little burst of the overtake just to get some momentum. You can see the gap is up to 1.6, but we've started to level out a little bit now. So going through into this first corner, looking at the 100 meter board, as I pass that, so about 75 meters out, I go through fourth gear, hooking the inside of that left curb. Going through here, you want to stay nice and tight to the exit. That will gain you some of that time. Use all the track just before the shadow. That's your braking point. Do not clip this inside curb, but get as close as you can. Run the car out wide. Going through into this one, as the green part of the barrier finishes, that's where I kind of brake and turn it at the same time. This corner is basically where the curb starts as we brake and turn in. You either want to miss that or you want to completely hook the car on the inside. As the curve finishes, completely flat out, hold it in 6th gear just to maintain the stability. And going to this one, I leave it in 7th gear in the race here. 100-meter board's quite nice in race conditions, because in qualifying, you have to go up into 8th and brake a little bit before. This one here, 4th gear, then short shift into 4th again to minimize the wheel spin. Going to this one, this is pretty much on feeling just before the shadow. That's your braking turning point. Kissing this, run a little bit on that curve, but not too much. And you can see the gap, he's only pulled away a 10th this time. And we're still doing the same lap time, so we're still doing a 17.1, 17.2. But this is where, as I said before, the AI are very, very strong at the start of their stints. But it seems to be towards the end, they just seem to, I don't know if it's an ERS use or just a tyre wear coming to effect or something, but they definitely seem to be a lot more beatable at the end of it. So I'm really, really trying to hang in here, and you can see, I think the way we're driving right now, the race I did last night, I'm actually driving on par right now with the SERP I did, so it shows that the SERP is working incredibly well. And I'm just pushing as absolutely as hard as I can, hooking this inside curve. That's another corner that you really want to be hitting the inside of that, because if you don't, if you kiss it, the car can really go out wide. You can see a first give a little extra rotation if you go in deep, just kind of spin topsy around that corner. A little bit of engine braking, but short shift into 4th gear again. And this one, as I said, there's no real reference point there. You just got to go with just your sense of speed on some corners, and that's really important. You can see starting to do the chicane very nicely, and you can see we're starting to catch him now. So the gap is 1.3 seconds, so we gained about 3 attempts, and you can see again we are just hitting our best lap after lap at 17, 1 or 2 every single lap, and that is what you need in this game. Obviously you need pace, but you need that consistency, and you can see again we're almost within that 1 second window, staying nice and tight. And you can see on the Delta we gained a lot of time by doing that. Minimizing the distance of a track is a very important feature on this game. Sebastian Vettel was about 4 seconds behind now. Going through here, a little bit of a lock-up, a nice wide entry, makes you get on the power very, very early. Let's see if I hook the inside of this time. Yes, kind of a little bit, could have done it a little bit more, but it's through this corner here. You have to hook your wheel on the inside of that curve, because that would just, it just provides more stability, and it just drags you around that corner. Be very, very aggressive into here. Now, try and use 2nd gear preferably through here, because 1st gear can really kind of unsettle the car at times. But you can see we're within this 1 second window now. And as I was cruising up to the back of him, I was just thinking, no, try not to use the overtake button. Just try and harvest it and then do a last lap attack, because he does have 2 lap fresher tyres to me. So coming off this corner, I'm not going to use overtake this time. Let's see if the Delta, we are gaining ever so slowly, gaining about a 10th or almost 2 tenths here. So it indicates to me that maybe he has used quite a lot of his ERS, and now it's going into a saving mode, because I know when you use auto ERS, it tends to be that they just use it all very, very quickly, and you're pretty much running on fumes to the end of this race. So that's perhaps why I'm able to catch him, because my lap times haven't changed. He's just gotten slower. Like I said, I'm still doing 17.1, 17.2, but he's just gotten slower. So now we are in the box seat. Albon is in the box seat, similar to what he almost was in Austria, where he was going for that race win. Let's see if we can actually do this for him. Going in the DRS zone again, going up into 8th gear, if you're carrying that little extra speed, do nice and wide entry, a very, very nice entry, but you can see now, this is the first sign of my tyres starting to very, very slowly go off here, going through into the last chicane. That right-hander there, you really don't want to be hitting that curb, because again, that can really unsettle the car. Getting a good exit off here, so I'm not going to make a move on this occasion. I'm going to wait until the last time, just to save up a little bit of the ERS here. But even if we used overtake, I don't think we would have been close enough on this occasion. So my goal here now is just to try and be as close as I possibly can to him. And you can see the gap is now 5 seconds behind. Hamilton has actually gone into 3rd place, just as I say, or they keep on swapping positions here. I don't know why Hamilton went on the hard tyres. That's a very poor excuse, but you can see drifting out wide through that dirty air. You can just see the visual effect of it. It is very significant on this game, trying to get some good traction. But you can see the car is now starting to dance around as the tyres are going, hooking the inside of this. That's much more like it. And going for this last sector, we have to be, I say, within about half a second coming on to start finish straight. See, haven't used that much overtake button, but no, we haven't really saved that much ERS at all. Going for this last sector, so about, well, we're in that half a second range, and this is exactly where we need to be. So we have to have a very good last chicane, almost losing the car going for here, and that hint of understeer still being evident. So we have to get a very, very good last chicane, and that was a pretty good last chicane. So we're going to use the overtake button. Let's see if Verstappen has anything left. Doing another 17-1, and he goes a little bit defensive, so we're just going to take the racing line and go into the lead of this race. But we do have a lapped car of the Williams actually coming up, so just showing again that we are really turning up the heat here. Hardly got any ERS left, but we've almost gained half a second already, doing a purple first sector here, and it is Nicholas Latifi, so hopefully he sees the blue flag, as you can see on the board there that it was flashing blue. Hopefully he makes this nice and easy. He pulls a little bit to the left hand side, and that is a very nice sight to see that the AI are actually obeying the lap rules, almost going out wide here. And I think this is pretty much game, set and match, unless he does a ridiculous dive bomb or I make a huge mistake. The gap is now about 6 seconds to Lewis Hamilton, going 2 tenths faster on my PB with the benefit of having the DRS here. Timed the fuel and ERS very nicely towards the end of this race here, going through into the third to last corner, or fourth to last corner, going to the last chicane, hooking this very nicely. The tyres are starting to go off now, using the remaining part of my overtake button. We're going to go across the line, and we win this race. That was probably the best race I've done against the AI so far. Alexander Albon taking the W in this one. I'm very happy for him. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the GP this weekend. And thank you so much for supporting my channel as always. And I'll catch you soon. Peace. And before the end of this video, I have to give a huge shout out to Gravity, the main sponsor and supporter of my channel. This is the best place to buy and sell Bitcoin in the UK, or if you're in Europe. This is something, a little bit of a hobby of mine that I've been involved with in the past few years, and they've been a huge supporter of me. If this is something you want to get involved in, then please check the referral link down below.